Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to my human rights series. This is about Central Africa Republic, CAR, when humanity collapsed into darkness. So, my beloved brothers, sisters, respected elders, and every human being who still has a conscience alive. Someone once asked me, Brother Rizwan, what's the scariest thing you've ever seen in your research about human rights? I told them when people lose their humanity, they don't become animals. Animals have mercy. They become worse than anything we can describe. And nowhere is that more evident than the next tragedy of our series, the Central African Republic. A story so brutal, so disturbing, that the world barely whispered about it because the victims were Muslims. And the world has a pattern. Muslim blood is the cheapest currency. So what happened in Central African Republic? For decades, Muslims and Christians lived side by side. No hatred, no conflict, no civil war. Then extremist militias rose, known as the Antabalaka, unleashing one of the most savage anti-Muslim campaigns in modern history. What they did to Muslims is something most people can't even imagine. Men butchered in the streets, women assaulted and tortured, mosques burned to ashes, entire neighborhoods wiped out, hundreds of thousands fled with no belongings, babies murdered in front of their mothers, bodies mutilated beyond recognition, and one UN official says this is ethnic cleansing. This is a mass murder. But the media barely spoke because the victims were Muslims. So, the most disturbing moment, the world looked away. One of the most horrific scenes ever recorded, a Muslim man running through the streets trying to escape a mob. He fell, they circled him, they killed him brutally. And what happened next? They ate parts of his body while chanting revenge. This is not history from 1,000 years ago. This is 2014, just a decade ago. And the world says nothing. No sanctions, no conferences, no outrage, no human rights speeches. Why? Because the victims were Muslim. The silence of civilization. Ask yourself, where were the defenders of democracy? Where were the human rights organizations? Where were the global powers who intervened everywhere else? Where were the hashtags, the protests, the documentaries? Instead, they labeled it sanctioning violence. No, this was not violence on both sides. This was an execution, extermination, and eradication of Muslims. Selective humanity is not humanity, it is hypocrisy. The strength of the survivors. But listen to the testimony of a Muslim woman who lost her entire family. A journalist asked, do you hate them for what they did to you? She said, Allah will judge them. My job is to survive with faith. Subhanallah. What strength is that? What heart is this? This is Islam. A faith that can survive even when the world burns. So where were the Muslim world? This tragedy exposed something painful. Many Muslim countries were silent. Many leaders were silent. Many institutions were silent. But Allah was not silent. Allah is never silent. The Quran says the supplication of the oppressed is never rejected. Let's mention a hadith. Allah is with the oppressed. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, fear the dua of the oppressed, for there is no barrier between it and Allah. The tears of the Muslims reach the heavens even if they never reach the news. So for my non-Muslims often ask, why do Muslims still hold on to their faith even in face of such cruelty? The answer, because faith is the last thing they cannot steal. They can take the homes, they can take your families, they can take your life, but they cannot take La ilaha illallah from the heart. Oppression destroys nations, but it strengthens believers. And after every tragedy, Islam spreads even more. So what the Ummah must learn from this? The Central Africa Republic tragedy teaches us our silence is a crime, Muslim unity is not optional, human rights are meaningless without consistency, oppression anywhere is a threat everywhere. The world will not save Muslims, Muslims must save Muslims. Dawah must be louder than propaganda. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned us, you will be numerous but powerless like foam on the ocean. Why? Because of division, because of materialism, because of fear, abandoning justice. But we are waking up. The Ummah today is more aware and more connected and more conscious than ever before. And oppression is becoming harder to hide. So the final message to the Muslims of CAR, which is Central Africa Republic, we say you are not forgotten, your tears are counted by Allah, your martyrs are honored by the angels, your suffering is written, your patience is your victory, and to the oppressors, you thought you destroyed a people, but you only exposed your own darkness. Your crimes are recorded, your justice is coming. So my next part of this series, I'm going to get to Syria. A decade of blood, hope, and unbreakable faith. This will be one of the most emotional chapters. It's going to talk about the chemical attacks, the barrel bombs, starving cities, orphans under the rubble, the rise and fall of tyrants, miracles that shock the world, and the spiritual strength of Syrian believers and why the world abandoned them.